A little earlier, I spoke to our correspondent in the Austrian city of Graz, Anthony Mills.
The health minister, Wolfgang Mückstein, called this the sledgehammer approach. In the run-up to this move to impose a fourth full lockdown, there'd been suggestions, certainly on the part of the Chancellor, Alexander Schallenberg, and several of the ministers close to him, that there wouldn't be a full lockdown, that they saw no reason to impose a lockdown on people who had been vaccinated. And that all changed towards the end of last week when they had a meeting with some of the leading virologists and representatives of the hospital sector who must have painted an extremely dark picture of the situation. And then came this full fourth lockdown, the sledgehammer approach, as the health minister put it. What it means is that virtually everything is forbidden beyond leaving the home for really important things like going to the supermarket to stock up on food, walking around the block for exercise, going to work, of course, although there is a strong suggestion that everybody work from home where possible. And with schools, school children and young persons are told that they can go to school. It's up to them. It's up to the parents. And if they stay home, they don't need a note excusing them. So a very restrictive lockdown here, just as restrictive as the previous three. And what has astounded Austrians, really, many of them, and you mentioned those protests there, is that this is the fourth hard lockdown. This has been going on for 2 years as far as they're concerned. And for many of them, there's really no end in sight.
So extraordinary sweeping measures coming into force this Monday. Just how bad is the COVID-19 situation right now in Austria?
It's really bad, and the reason for this lockdown, which is set to last 3 weeks and will then revert to a lockdown only for the unvaccinated, we're told by the government. The reason for it is those enormously high numbers. We've had a surge in numbers in recent weeks here that appears to have caught the government by surprise. And just to give you an example, about a week ago or so, we had in Upper Austria, in the province, one of the provinces hardest hit by that surge in numbers, we had more cases registered in 24 hours than in the entire Spanish peninsula in a comparable time frame. So that is the backdrop to these drastic measures. And what's more, you mentioned those protests, there has been triggered real anger in many quarters, because not only is there a fourth lockdown with these sweeping, extremely severe measures, but coming with that lockdown, an announcement that in February there is going to be a nationwide law requiring vaccination for absolutely everybody, and those who don't get vaccinated will, in the worst case, end up with a prison sentence. And that has triggered even more anger and may well explain why we saw tens of thousands of people go into the streets in Austria this weekend, and why the far-right party, the Freedom Party, has really capitalized politically on this situation. It had always been skeptical about the government's approach to the pandemic and to fighting the pandemic, but the far-right Freedom Party had warned all along that there was going to be a national vaccine mandate, and until just a few days ago, the government had said, no, that's not going to happen. We don't see the need for that. That's not going to happen in Austria. And so, of course, the far-right has really capitalized on that and brought into its birth, as it were, many of the people who are not just hardcore supporters of the far right, but frustrated with the situation, angry that there is going to be a law requiring everybody to be vaccinated, angry that there is a fourth lockdown with these wide, deeply intrusive measures, and really rather fearful for the future because, as I say, it's not entirely clear when all of this is going to end. These drastic measures are due to be reviewed after 10 days. They're due to last for 3 weeks, at which point the lockdown will revert to a lockdown for unvaccinated persons, which will remain in place and is a third key element, if you will, that is fueling the widespread anger, anxiety, and uncertainty here in Austria.